What's up, everyone? Welcome to Dogs Down South, all new podcast series taking the place of Ready, Ted, Go. Super excited for the first session tonight. Didn't do any kind of intro music or countdown or anything. We just hopped straight in. Super excited for this new podcast talking about all things Georgia football and the SEC. And what a great night to go live on Dogs Down South for the first time and talk about National Early Signing Day. National Early Signing Day. And lot to talk about. So I'm going to give people a little bit of time to join. We are live on Dogs Down South on YouTube, also on Facebook, Dogs Down South, and then Twitter will be actually Twitter and Instagram are something that the StreamYard account I'm working on will actually be able to go live on as well. So if you're interested in Twitter or Instagram, any of those things as well, and then Dogs Down South on TikTok. We're going to work on building some stuff up there. So super excited. Big day as people join up. Big day on National Signing Day. So much to talk about. I honestly will tell you that I honestly thought we'd be talking about one thing, but man, we're talking about one big thing, but we're actually talking about another big thing tonight. So obviously the what probably should be the talk of the town is the flipping of Dylan Raiola to Nebraska. He did sign his letter of intent today, and with Nebraska, I think everybody kind of knew that was going to happen. So it wasn't anything majorly per se a shocker. Not after all the stuff that came out over the weekend after he visited Nebraska, and he had he said he had a good time. I mean, some of the stuff that we were hearing was super just, I don't know, man, it just sounded super misleading. I mean, you look at the whole Dylan Raiola thing and you just kind of look back and go, what happened there? I talked about it on my show a couple nights ago, and I said, he goes and he basically moves to Atlanta, Georgia, plays for a big 6A high school. Is it 7A now? I haven't been in Georgia in so long as far as living there. I don't even know the high school football classifications. I know they add an A to every school every year at some point. But 6A, 7A Beaufort High School, he goes up there. And I mean, it's not I don't think it's I just thought, hey, this is it. He wants to be closer to campus. He wants to make all the home games. He wants to be able to, to kind of start developing relationships. This is the quarterback of the future. I saw all that and I missed everything behind it. And I talked about it on my last show. I said, that there was a lot of people that said this guy's been hopping around for a while. And so then, of course, with everything that was said about his uncle being a coach there now, the offensive line coach, and he received a big fat raise for doing absolutely nothing last year, but taking a team to an off-season early, no bowl season, a line that couldn't block for the quarterback they had. So I don't know how they're going to block for Dylan Raiola. Gets a raise, and they bought a quarterback. Man, they bought him a quarterback. He didn't want to compete. I don't think he didn't want to, he didn't want to sit. He didn't want to compete. And if he goes to Nebraska, at least if anything, if everything fails, he's a, he's a family legacy up there. And he's going to a school his dad went to and things of that nature. So highly recruited. His dad was highly recruited by Nebraska and went to Nebraska. So, but in place of that news, the big thing that was just moved on to was the flipping of 5-star safety KJ Bolden today. Man, if that's not the talk of the day, if that's not the one trump card that Kirby comes out with today and says, tell you what, if you want to figure out who's the head of recruiting and who sets the pace in recruiting for the for college football, it's Georgia, and flipping KJ Bolden. Now, my thing is, I don't know how they kept it I don't know how they kept it so secret. I mean, I heard nothing about this. I heard a little bit of a leak yesterday that he was leaning towards Auburn, actually. And come to find out that Hugh Freeze and them were very, very close, very, very close. Hugh Freeze even saying something to the fact of, they had a really good overnight, late night closes. I think Hugh Freeze even said something about, I'm too old to play video games or something like that. So I don't know, man. But I do know this: at the end of the day, KJ Bolden is signed a letter of intent to play in Athens, and man, you're adding him to 5-star Ellis Robinson at cornerback and 5-star Justin Williams at linebacker. All three of those guys are 98 composite ratings by 247 Sports. That's pretty much borderline the highest. I mean, the highest ranked recruit right now is the kid that's going to Ohio State, and I want to talk about him. His name is Jeremiah. I'm not going to talk about him yet, but he is he verbally committed today, but he has yet to sign his letter of intent. So I don't know, man. Even Ryan Day in his press conference, when they told him that he committed, he kind of asked some questions. He's like, is it verbal? Is it written? Is it signed? I think he still didn't believe that he committed, but we don't want to go there yet. We'll talk about the other parts of the country later on a little bit before we get off, but celebrating another number one class for Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs, multiple key signings to fill in what's been going on with the transfer portal. Kirby led on to a lot of things today about, I guess per se, like why it's been so quiet maybe. But a lot of it was things that I expected to kind of be said. Kirby's not he's kind of a know when to hold him type thing. He just kind of holds his cards really close to him. I think he had a pretty good plan of action. He knew that coming off the loss to Alabama, he knew that everyone needed to probably have a little rest, a little relaxation, a little time off. And then headed right into obviously conversations with people talking about what their future looked like. I honestly think Beck was a quick answer. I think him coming out and saying he was coming back was weeks after he actually told Kirby he was going to come back. I said this a couple of days ago. Brock Vandagriff doesn't leave and go to Kentucky and not know that, that Beck's not coming back, and he's going to have to possibly, you got to look at the writing on the wall. He's going to have to fight for a starting position with a quarterback who is significantly imprinted himself in what's going to be the future of Georgia football now that he has announced he's coming back. And even this year, Carson did some incredible things. I think Carson would have been definitely a day one pick. I don't know if it'd have been first or second round. It just depends on who was really, really going for a quarterback. Because I think the things you can see with Carson was, obviously he does strike flashy athleticism, not crazy flashy athleticism, but enough for the NFL to where it's not just one of those, six flat 40s, and if the line caves in, he's done. He can do some things. He can get out of there and get you some positive yards. But what he did flash was incredible poise, incredible smartness in the pocket. He doesn't turn the ball over. And I just feel like that he was very accurate this year. He had some kind of bozo throws, but a lot less bozo throws than some people had from other teams. And so I think that's why you see Brock Vandagriff go to Kentucky. And then the other news today that came up was hold on one second. The other news that came up today was James Dumas Johnson, who's been talked about. I talked about a lot a couple of days ago. He signed his letter. He signed out of the transfer portal with Kentucky. He's going to go play for Kentucky. I think that's good for him. I think when you look at what the roster that is, the roster that's returning. I think that's something where he saw the youth in front of him, he saw the legs in front of him, and he thought maybe I'm going to have to battle for some playing time this year. And so, for whatever reason, he decided to leave and go play for Kentucky. So, best of luck to him. And you're seeing a lot of the Georgia players that are landing places in the portal. I've seen Darius Smith land in Missouri. I'm seeing. I think we saw James Dumas Johnson in Kentucky. There was one other player that landed somewhere today. I think it was EJ Lightsey landed in Georgia Tech. So, but man, the news for the day once again, as people are joining, sorry about that. The flipping of KJ Bolden from Buford High School, and it was funny because when he didn't really announce it, they were kind of going down the table, and it went to Dylan Raiola. It said Nebraska. I think there was a guy that committed somewhere on the offensive line sitting next to KJ, and when it's basically like it would pop on the screen. And so when it popped on the screen and said Georgia, if you looked at Dylan Raiola's face, I think he was like what in the world? Like, I think he knew he wasn't going to Nebraska, but I think that he was shocked to see that he wasn't going to Georgia. And who knows, man, if Dylan Raiola knows that. Some people have even said that KJ Bolden and Dylan Raiola were not as close as people thought. You know, people thought, oh, well, they were the dynamic duo from Buford High School. I don't know, man. Some people have said, you know, KJ headed the other direction for a reason, you know. So who knows? We may never know, but in conversations from that some of their friends might have, and let the cat out of the bag. But let's go through some of the recruits that signed with us today on the early signing period. And there's obviously National Signing Day that's still live, and in February that there's a possibility to get some extra there. Definitely after today, I think, like I said yesterday, I think tomorrow and Friday you'll see Georgia now go in and look at what's left to pick up on in the portal and kind of go after that, go after what they need in the portal. I will tell you, I don't think they'll be in for those big names. Would it be great to grab a Walter Nolan? Would it be great, you know, to go in there? And I don't think they'll be looking for a quarterback, obviously. I think the big thing the big push that'll start happening now is to figure out, you know, Gunnar Stockton and Ryan Puglisi and how they kind of develop, but also Juju next year. Juju from Carrollton. He's going to be someone that I think we're going to go after really, really big time. I think he might be the future of quarterback at Georgia. And I do think that they have a really good shot at him, because I don't think USC has as good of a shot at him as they did this time last year, and even this time during the regular season. But once again, recapping the top three signees for the Georgia class: Ellis Robinson from IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida. 5-star cornerback, 6'1", 185, composite rating of 98. His national ranking is 3. His position rating is 1. He has signed a letter of intent for Georgia. Big thing there. What are you getting with Ellis Robinson? So you're getting a physical cornerback. A lot of people, it says he has the speed capability of a Kamari Lassiter and kind of the Keely Ringo type player, but he's he's a big kid. He's aggressive. He's going to give you a little more of that. Somebody actually said he has that Greg Blue type build. I don't know if you guys remember Greg Blue from back in the day. And, you know, Greg Blue was, he was a stocky kid. He didn't have a lot of, you know, he wasn't like a person, like a bulky kid, but he was very fit. He was very stocky, and he was a headhunter type guy. But you're getting a very physical cornerback. If you watched him at IMG Academy, he was playing top level talent at IMG, and he was a man among boys. He has been solid for Georgia all year. I think he would be what you would say would be what a Dylan Raiola was all year, but he actually came through. He actually, you know, pushed through. I think Ellis and KJ attributed a lot to Fran Brown at Syracuse now, which is the old defensive backs coach for Georgia from literally as of 2-3 weeks ago, who's moved on to be the head coach at Syracuse. And some of our receivers have found a home with him. Jackson Meeks went to go play for him. I forget the other name of the kid that went out there, but the other player that obviously the big flip with KJ Bolden is, and I think before we talk about KJ, let's talk about Justin Williams, Oak Ridge High School, Conroe, Texas, linebacker. So 6'2", 205, 98 composite rating, national ranking you have 9, position ranking is number one linebacker in the country in the 2024 signing class, signed letter of intent. This kid's going to get early playing time. I think you can see the writing on the wall where some of these linebackers like EJ Lightsey, where you look at Marvin Jones Jr., things of that nature, you start to look at these guys and they're like, holy cow, look at what's coming through here. Look at what's being signed. Some of these kids come on campus, they see him and they're like, I'm going to have to, I'm going to have to compete. And I have an opportunity to maybe make a little money, but also go someplace and play. And so I think that's what they saw in that. And then, of course, KJ Bolden. And I think what the biggest reason why the KJ Bolden flip is huge is because, I mean, if you're having a conversation with KJ Bolden, you don't really know a lot that's going to happen this year. If we're looking at roster stuff that may or may not happen here in the next few days. You look at defense, you look at Tyke Smith, who could come back and take a COVID year, and might. Tyke did really well for us this year. You obviously look at Malachi Starks, sophomore at the free. He's gonna be our free safety next year. And then you look at Bullard, Javon Bullard Jr. could come back. I think he will come back. So where does I know exactly where Ellis Robinson fits in here. I mean, I think he's definitely I think they saw I think Everett saw the writing on the wall. You got Julian Humphrey, who's going to be a stud. You're going to see what Julian Humphrey can do in the bowl game. I think he is slated to be the starting cornerback in place of Lassiter. So I think you see Ellis Robinson right in there quick. I think he's going to be an impact player at cornerback very quickly. But you wonder, like, where does KJ Bolden fit in this? Like, what does KJ Bolden look at and go is where am I going to be very quickly? And I think you look and you go, I think Georgia looks and goes, if we're losing weapons like possibly Brock Bowers, Ladd McConkey, if Ladd chooses to stay, amazing. If he doesn't, then there's holes there. And then you look at, Rosemi Jack Saint, who will be heading out probably and heading to the draft. You look back, there's a lot determining if Ra comes back. I think he will. I think he needs to. But you look at Ra, you look at the development you look at Mekhi Muse leaving, but you look at Anthony Edwards being able to develop there as a punt returner and possibly as a receiver to kind of fit his role. And you got Dom Leverett coming back, and then you got Dylan Bell, who had an incredible year. So, man, you're adding a huge special teams deep ball threat, something that I think so. So what am I saying that for? I think KJ Bolden was told he was going to be used like a Travis Hunter type guy, and I know what you guys might say, like, Kirby doesn't really do that. Kirby probably hasn't seen an athlete like KJ Bolden come through since Champ Bailey came through. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. KJ Bolden is an incredible talent. It's incredible talent, incredibly fast. I'm just going to pull his composite rankings and we look at him real quick. So KJ Bolden, pretty tall kid, 6'1", 185, not drastically tall, but let me just swallow water. Sorry. So sorry. 6'1", 185. Obviously, he played a lot of wide receiver and safety for Buford while he was there. But number one ranking at his position in the 2024 class and number 3 overall recruit. out of all the recruits in the 2023-2024 signing class. Number 3, number 2 player in Georgia. This is an incredible signing. I think there was some things that were told to him that I think he might have got some Champ Bailey type words. I definitely know that he'll be a person that can swing in and out of that secondary. I think it will allow us to be very flexible in all areas of the secondary, but I also think that this pickup had a lot to do with him playing wide receiver as well. If you look at it, Georgia has not signed a top 10 wide receiver in a long time. We got some really good pickups at wide receiver this year, though. You can't just look at how they were ranked, but I do feel good about the receivers that we got. So that's the big news. Ellis Robinson, 5-star, Justin Williams, 5-star, and KJ Bolden, all number 1 at their position ranking by 247, which is the only one I follow. On3 is a little wishy-washy. On3 had us at number 2. And Jeremiah, I forget the kid's name, Robinson, I think it is, or something like that. Robertson. He hadn't even signed his letter of intent yet. He's just verbal. So I don't do too much with On3, but let's keep going through. So Chris Cole, another linebacker, 4-star. He's 3rd at his position, nationally, 39th out of Salem, Virginia. All I hear about these linebackers that we've been getting in this class right here is speed. I heard really great things about Justin Williams. This kid, Chris Cole, all I've heard about him is if you look at he's got a little bit of height. He's 6'3", he's 210, has really great stats, has a composite rating of 96. He's your 3rd best linebacker. And so that means 1 and 3 are coming to Georgia. Big thing out of him is same thing. He had Miami, Penn State, Tennessee, USC all sitting there, and he's been a solid commit to Georgia the entire year. And so that's huge. And then rounding out our linebacking core, Christopher Jones is somebody that Georgia's really excited about. A little bit bigger of a linebacker, 6'2", 220, 4-star at his position. He was 10th nationally. He's still top 100. Really good size coming in at that position. So I feel like as far as the linebackers, you look at what we lost, and I'm not forgetting Malachi Tolliver from Cartersville, Georgia, 3-star, but I'm sorry, wrong name. That's wrong. So that was Malachi. Yeah, Malachi Tolliver is definitely an interior offensive lineman. So I think we really beefed up, and we went 1, 3, and 10 in our linebacking room, and I think we're still maybe 1 away from possibly a portal hit there somewhere. And then here's another exciting player that we signed, Joseph Jonah Ajanye. You're going to need to remember that name, 6'4", 275, absolute animal at his position. The next 2 players I'm going to talk about I know some people are asking me, what do we think about what do we think about how we're going to replace the interior line? And I will tell you this, I like this kid a lot. Number 11 defensive lineman coming out of his class in Conroe, Texas. Him coming over with my man, him and Chris Cole. Obviously, I'm so sorry. That's actually Justin Williams. Him and him coming over together. Really good duo. Really what stands out to me about Ajanye is physical up front, Jalen Carter type stature. 6'4", 275, runs really well. Was being heavily recruited by Tech, Oklahoma, Arizona State, USC. But the biggest thing that stands out here is a lot of people are comparing him to kind of a Jalen Carter type effect, very physical. Not your big like plug up the middle, but I got that guy for you next. We signed him 6'4", 6'4" and a half. They got, don't miss the half. Who we flipped from the University of Florida, 300-pound Nazir Johnson from Dublin, Georgia. Here's your guy, man, that I was talking about the other day. think he runs a 5 flat 40, which is not bad for a 300-pound lineman. Not bad at all. Composite ranking, he's 12th in his position, 58th nationally. Recruited by Florida, South Carolina, Auburn, all those. Everybody's looking for that interior, just behemoth that can just stop and take on two offensive linemen. Well, that's this guy. That's this guy right here, and I think he's going to bode really well. Really, really well with what is already there. Remember, I spoke very highly of, at the defensive tackle position, I spoke very highly of Jordan Hall. I think Jordan Hall is going to be, we didn't see a lot of Jamal Jarrett, but I think Jamal Jarrett is another name to look out for who's developed really well. I will tell you that, and even Christian Miller, I think, man, one of these guys, Stackhouse or Logue, I think, maybe even Warren Brinson. I don't know. I think a little less of Warren Brinson, but Stackhouse and Logue, I think one of them is going to take a COVID year. I think they're going to come back, take a COVID year. So maybe you have that, but I like what I saw in Jamal Jarrett. I like what I see in Jordan Hall. I like what we added depth-wise with these two guys. And Nasir Johnson is going to add great depth to that line. And I also really, really like Joseph Jonah Ajonye. Don't forget Ajonye, man. Ajonye is going to be another guy that's going to come in and do great things. Our wide receivers, I'm excited about our wide receivers that we did get. One of the big names in there, Nitarian Nitro Tuggle. He's out of Northwood, Napanee, Tennessee. Speedster, runs a 4.3 40. Really highly recruited from the likelihoods of Auburn and some other SEC schools. Plays in a really, really tough division up there. I'm sorry, Napanee, Indiana. Tough division up there in Indiana, in the Ohio area. Really, really good kid. I think he's a character kid. I think when you look at wide receiver and when you can't really drop one of those spots on the top, those top 10 receivers, I think you start to go after, or what are some things that he can add to the plate. I think Nitro adds speed. I think he adds athleticism. I think he adds smart, and I think he adds, I want to be at Georgia. Kirby's all about building within the program. And then another really big name that I like off of the wide receiver list. Let me find his name, make sure I don't jack it up. Sakovi White, man. Sakovi White, 5'8", 170, little speedster out of Cartersville, Georgia. He's that guy that, when you look at Mekhi Muse and you go, well, who reminds you of Mekhi Muse? It's Sakovi White for me. I think he's going to do good things. I like the couple of receivers that we picked up. I really like it. We did go after one tight end out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Colton Heinrich. A little bit different. Cardinal Gibbons, a little bit different of a tight end, a little change of pace type tight end there. And then I absolutely love what we did with the offensive line. And I'm going to call them out first before we hit the running backs. But I love what we did with the offensive line. All I see is just massive bodies with massive potential. Somebody texted me right now that's they're trying to get in, they can't get in. Massive potential. Let's look through them. Nyler Daniels, Oradell, New Jersey, 4-star, 6'8", 360 pounds. Did you hear that? 6'8", 360 pounds. Michael Uini, Corpus Cove, Texas, offensive tackle, 6'7", 335. And then you got my man Marcus Harrison, St. Francis, out of Hamburg, New York, 6'7.5", 6'8", 336. And then we're looking right down that pipe at the Malachi Tolliver from Cartersville, Georgia, interior offensive lineman, 6'6", 320. And then we have we did sign one more offensive lineman. I'm not seeing him. I'm not seeing him at all. Where's he at? Oh, how did I miss this guy? This is the one I'm most excited about. Daniel Calhoun from Walton, Georgia, Marietta, Georgia. From Walton High School in Marietta, Georgia. 6'6", 6'6.5", 365 pounds. He's the fifth rated lineman at his position. Top 50 recruit in 247 Sports. I like what we did with the offensive line. We also signed Jaden Riddle, another tight end out of Missouri, 6'4", 233. Really good athletic kid. Andre Evans, cornerback out of, man, we really did great work in the secondary. I love what we did in the secondary, and I love what we did in the interior. I like the two people that we have coming in on that interior line, on that interior defensive line. And I did not, I failed to mention Jordan Thomas from Don Bosco Prep. I talked a little bit about him the other night on my show, but Jordan Thomas from Don Bosco, 6'5", 296, another quick guy. I think we still have a little work to do in the portal as far as the edge is concerned. We got to give Michael Williams a little help on the edge, him and Chambliss out there on the edge. We did some decent things on the edge with we had one really good signee on the edge with Quintavious Johnson. I talked a little bit about him the other night. He's going to be a sleeper, 6'4", 242. What's being talked about with him is he played a lot of positions in high school, even to the fact of playing quarterback for Mays High School in the Atlanta area. This kid can play any position. He can put one hand on the ground, and he can go defensive line. He can play linebacker outside. He can pop out, guard a receiver. He's quick. He's a quick guy, and he's going to be somebody for us that's very, very productive. If we can get McLeod from South Carolina, that would be huge too for the defensive line. Also stoked about Ndami Ogboko from Garner, South Carolina. Another need for there, big body, 6'4", 335. We definitely got some size for the line. I think we need a little bit more experience there. That's why I'm wondering if we hadn't been really active because Stackhouse and Logue, one of them staying around, or maybe both. I don't know. I don't see them going very high up, so it might be to their benefit to be there. Although I will tell you that there were times when Stackhouse and Logue, and then maybe because they're not healthy, but they got pushed around a little bit in the middle this year. So you're going to see I think you're going to see a pissed off Trey Scott there this year. And he's going to get that middle section right. And then I'm excited. Obviously Ryan Puglisi, our one quarterback signee in this class, 4-star. Excited about this guy, cannon of an arm, Jake Fromm type mentality and attitude. So excited for this kid to come in. The writing's on the wall for him. And then, the running back room, we did some really good things in the running back area. I am so stoked. I am stoked about this Frazier kid. I've heard so many good things about him character-wise and everything. 5'11", 208, out of Mater Dei High School, Nate Frazier. A couple things about my man, Nate, that stand out to me are just really strong kid. He was in the running with a lot of big schools that wanted his services, man. We were in there with Alabama, Oregon, Arizona State. Number 9 running back out of Santa Ana, California. This kid is a stud. I think he's going to be a stud. I'm super curious to see what we do in the portal with ETN. Or does this mean we don't see ETN? I don't really know, but I know that Frazier's going to push for time. I know we flipped my man. We flipped Chauncey Bowens from Florida, another huge talent out of North Palm Beach, Florida, and then obviously the last name on the list that we pulled at running back. Where'd he go? He's here. Don't you worry. Maybe we didn't. Maybe that's all we signed in that class. I thought we signed a third running back. But but yeah, so and then obviously to fill in some voids and gaps, transfer portal news, London Humphreys. He's actually came in as a 3-star prospect, but he's actually graded out now as a 4-star wide receiver prospect. So definitely bolstered the wide receiver room. They then signed the number one punter in the country, Drew Miller, out of Mediapolis, Iowa. So that's a big pickup. I think it talked about pretty much everybody, but Dwight Phillips Jr. was the other running back. I'm sorry, I don't know how I missed Dwight Phillips Jr. Speedster, man. I've heard so many good things about him as well. I've heard he catches the ball extremely well out of the backfield. He's got your James Cook type mentality, but this class is incredible. This class is really incredible. It fills some voids for Kirby Smart, and now I think we start looking at what makes sense in the portal. I think there'll be some talks going on Thursday and Friday, and we'll see what we do to finish it out. If I had to guess today, and as we close tonight on the first little inaugural Dogs Down South podcast, I think that we will go after some key things. I think we need a veteran interior defensive lineman. I think we could possibly use Trevor Etienne would be incredible. I think you look at what we've done in the running back room. I mean, you look at Paul, Andrew Paul, you look at Rod Robinson, you look at hopefully you're getting a Branson Robinson coming back healthy. That kid's going to be a nightmare, man. I want to see what he can do when he's healthy. I don't know. Obviously, Milton's going to move on. Dejan, I don't know what you get out of Dejan. I really don't. Does he go pro? I mean, we're going to start hearing those obviously in the next few days, and so forth. But I think maybe a Trevor Etienne would be good there. And I think maybe maybe we're looking at the kid from USC that's going to come over with a new secondary coach. And you may somewhere in there we may need a little depth at linebacker, but other than that, like I think we've sewed up some of our needs, and we reloaded in the secondary, man. I'm talking reloaded. I think the line is in good hands. I think obviously we're going to lose Xavier Trust this year. I think we're obviously losing Mims to the draft, but you got Tate Rutledge who could go. Haven't heard anything from him yet. You would think that Tate Rutledge, redshirt junior, would go. I don't know about that yet. Obviously, Cedric Van Prom will probably more than likely head that direction as well. But returning, you got Dylan Fairchild returning, you got Ernest Green returning. Jury's still out on Tate Rutledge, Dylan Fairchild. Jared Wilson did a great job at center for when Van Prom was out. Michael Morris did a great job. Monroe Freeling is going to be incredible. So we've done some really great things in the line. And so I think we fill some great voids. Just in closing tonight, I will say that, when you look at this trend right now going on with NIL, and you look at transfer portal, and you look at National Early Signing Day, you can see Georgia is keeping the main thing. I heard something the other day that said we have 85 scholarship athletes and we had about 97 players. And so at some point in time, something's got to give. We just signed a 27 person draft class, signing class, better. Feels like the draft with NIL. So obviously some things had to change, but couldn't have been a better day for Georgia. Could not have been a better day. Looking forward to the bowl. I've already seen some depth chart stuff on the defense. I think we're a little unsure still about what's going to end up on the offensive side. Obviously, Carson Beck will be there playing. I'm not sure about Brock yet. We'll see what the offensive line looks like. We'll be fine, though. I think you're going to see Milton in there. Obviously, you'll see Dejan. We'll be fine. It's going to be a good game. December 30th is right around the corner. We're about 2 weeks out, getting ready to celebrate Christmas, and then they'll get back to work right after Christmas the week of, and then we'll get into Miami later in the week, and then we will play on December 30th, and it's going to be a great game. It's going to be a great game. I don't know how many players will be playing for Florida State, but we'll see. But anyways, excited about this draft class. Kirby Smart, Mike Bobo, Muschamp, all the boys, Schumann, that just an incredible job. They will probably so enjoy the next few days with their families and being able to take a little bit of time off, hopefully. Maybe after tomorrow or Thursday, after they look at what portal happens. I think the Christmas presents we might be looking for though would be Walter Nolan and Trevor Etienne. If we get those names, watch out. I think Tyler Barron. I mean, Ole Miss has mopped the floor in the transfer portal, but you know what? I think they have to. You got to look at that as their the transfer portal is kind of their recruiting, and it is what it is, and so I get it, but I would say this is great news coming off obviously a disappointing snub from the 14 college football playoff coming into a year next year where we're a 12-team playoff and a lot of things changing, a very hard schedule next year. But we're going to see what pans out. We're going to take it one step at a time. Excited to be on this new podcast, Dogs Down South. I love it. Talking all things Georgia football. A lot of people in the SEC had really great classes. You look at Ole Miss, another good signing class. Before we get out of here, let's look at real quick at ratings of signing classes for this year for the SEC. Names to look at are Alabama obviously came in second. Auburn hopped up there seventh. So top three SEC teams in recruiting were Georgia, Alabama, and obviously, you know what I'm not doing is I'm not including Texas in this. I'm not including Texas, but if you really look at it, Georgia, Alabama, Texas, Auburn. Then you had Tennessee coming in at 11th, LSU 12th, filled some void. A&M at 14th, Florida 15th, South Carolina 17th, Ole Miss 18th, Missouri 22nd, Kentucky 25th. And that's kind of how it stacked up. Vanderbilt hopped in at 39. So, yeah, I mean, the portal helped some of them out, but we'll see how it all goes down. But I will be hopping on from time to time before bowl season. We will have one or two more shows before the matchup with Florida State. We'll have a little preview show coming up after Christmas, right before New Year's, and then we'll have a follow-up from as the transfer portal shuts down, and then we get into hopefully a win for the Dogs against Florida State coming up soon. We'll talk about that game and look at those game and maybe have fun and pick some of those last 5 or 6 games for this year as the season comes to a close and as we get into the off season and look forward to spring practice. I'm already ready for it, but I'm sure the coaches are ready to just decompress a little bit. So thanks for joining for the first inaugural night of Dogs Down South. Hope you guys have an amazing night. Great day for the Georgia Bulldogs. Great day, man. KJ Bolden, Ellis Robinson. Man, 2 incredible pickups. Just really solid pickups. And then Justin Williams at linebacker to fill a void there. I think he's going to see the field very early on. So excited about the future of Georgia football. Obviously, when Kirby Smart's at the helm, he holds his cards very tight. So this is definitely good news coming off of what we could probably consider as mediocre news as far as not making the playoff and obviously seeing some things exit to the portal. Sad to see some of those kids go. But looking forward to the future of these young kids and the Dogs of the future. So have a great week. Won't be on before Christmas. So Merry Christmas and go Dogs.